Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It is Friday night, and you're listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Anthony Agati in New York.
And I'm Luci Liebfried in Chicago. You are listening to one of the highest-rated paranormal shows on Blog Talk. No bull, no lies, just a true platform for everyone to share their knowledge and experiences. When searching for the truth, good communication is key. Now, due to the nature of tonight's topic, we won't be taking any calls, but our chat room is open, so you can type in your questions and your comments. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paranormal Review Radio. You'll find more articles, blogs, and full show uploads. If you have specific questions or comments and would like to be a guest on the show, email us at paranormal.review@aol.com. Now, sit back, get comfy, and prepare to open your minds. It's time for Paranormal Review Radio.
In Lewis Carroll's book, Through the Looking Glass, the White Queen tells Alice that in her land, memory works both ways. Not only can the Queen remember things from the past, but she also remembers things that happened the week after next. Alice attempts to argue with the Queen, stating, "I'm sure mine only works one way. I can't remember things before they happen." The Queen replies, "It's a poor sort of memory that only works backwards." How great would it be if we were like the Queen, to be able to remember things backwards and forwards? In essence, seeing the future while learning from the past. While science has done everything to debunk and discredit the field of parapsychology and metaphysics, the belief and practice in psychics and fortune tellers have significantly grown in the last 100 years. James Randi, an independent skeptic who found the James Randi Educational Foundation to educate people on scams and frauds, has provided a $1 million challenge to give the opportunity to people within the paranormal and who has paranormal claims to prove them wrong. None have claimed the jackpot yet. Now, I must preface the show tonight by saying Luci and I obviously believe in psychic abilities and obviously know the paranormal exists, but that doesn't mean we can't learn from skeptics and see what they have discovered that could potentially change the scope of our direction. We are not 100% proof positive that the spirit world exists, no matter how much evidence we say we have. There is still a percentage of doubt in everyone's mind right now that know there could very well be a possible reasonable explanation for the things they see and hear. Tonight we want to discuss and focus in on that small percentage of doubt that we have to see if we need to reevaluate our mission. This isn't a smear campaign, nor is this show meant to discredit anyone, well, at least from our perspective. We found our guests tonight to be very interesting and the mission they embarked on to be rather smart. Do we believe in their overall belief that psychics are frauds? No. But do we appreciate the idea that if there are frauds out there, this group will weed them out? Susan Gerbic is involved and leader of the Monterey County Skeptics and Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia, for which she strives to correct fraud and replace with facts. Susan will share with us an extraordinary mission that was completed a few months back that exposed two particular psychics. She has agreed to come on our show to be fair and honest. This will be a show to remember, so please help me in welcoming Susan Gerbic to the show. Hi, Susan. So happy you can join us tonight.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this forum that I love the fact that you're interested, you're searching for the truth, because that's exactly what we're doing too.
Absolutely.
Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. You know what, before we get into the operations, let's learn a little bit more about you and your skeptic organization. Can you share a little about yourself and how you got involved in this area?
Well, I've always been a person who really likes to know that things are what they are. I've never been a person who's believed in anything because somebody told me so. You know, and that's been with everything, you know, with leprechauns to Santa Claus to UFOs to ghosts to everything. I want to know, is what I know correct? And I feel that that's a very strong thing that we should have. We should all know what we know.
Well, is it correct to say that your main purpose is to make things accurate and factual based upon scientific evidence as it is right now?
Well, that's a nice way of saying it. I think that people should be able to do their own research and find their own evidence. But, you know, I think first that we need to give them really good grounding in what critical thinking is. What does evidence mean? How far does the mind perceive? Can the brain play tricks on us? I think we need to understand these kinds of things first so that we can use the information we get to really look at what we know. Because, you know, something like pareidolia, audio pareidolia, idiomotor effect, the Barnum effect, all these other kinds of things, if we don't have a good grounding in that, how we can easily be fooled by memory, how we can be fooled by our eyes, all those kinds of things, we need to understand that. Once the evidence is out there, I think that people should be able to make up their own minds. And that's what we want to do with Wikipedia. We want to make sure that the pages are well written with all the citations that people need to find and read for themselves and make their own decisions.
Okay. So tonight we're going to talk about two operations that you and your group conducted a few months back, Operation Ice Cream Cone and Operation Bumblebee. You know, I have to ask, how did you come up with these names?
They were just ridiculous. I just came up with something for the fun of it. Yeah, there was no reason for that. It was just, I'm kind of a goofy person in person, so it just was fun.
So, Susan, these skeptic action projects, I assume you'd call them that, were conducted mainly to try and catch a psychic in a hot read. And if that's correct, can you tell our audience what a hot read is and why why it was important for these sting operations?
Okay, well, we wanted to do a hot read because, I mean, cold reading, catching a psychic in cold reading is really simple. That happens all the time. That's been done many, many, many times. We have seen hot reads. Okay, I should describe what a hot read is. A hot read is when you have information about a person that is obtained either from talking to their sister or listening into a conversation or looking at their Facebook page or some other way of knowing the information before you've talked to them. A cold read is when you are making, you're talking about the person based on things that you know about them. Just like, obviously, I would be able to say things about you guys because just of your accent. I mean, Luci there has quite a accent, so I mean, it'd be really easy for me to be able to start saying some things about you based on maybe the age you sound or your accent or that you're interested in the paranormal or so on. So a person, especially somebody who's been doing this for a long time, should be able to be very good at doing cold reads. And if you're in front of them, they can look at your jewelry, they can look at your posture, they can look at the clothing you're wearing, your hairstyle. You know, are you nodding? Yes, agreeing to what they're saying. Those are cold reading tactics, and it's fairly easy to learn. Some people are better at it than others. But a hot read, we wanted to show a hot read, and we had interest from other places that wanted to do a story on this if we could get a good hot read. We've also seen people on the internet. There's been several videos come up of some of the other psychics that show a hot read. but it's not evidence because there was no control. It's because the person could say, one of the examples I gave in the article is that a psychic had said that she started saying, what is this, I'm getting these initials and this date, and somebody very close to you died. Who is it? And it turned out it was the cameraman.
Oh, I think we lost Susan.
Yeah, we just lost her. Let me dial her back real quick.
So as Luci's calling Susan back, I thought you put it in the bubble, Luci.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Well, we got you back now.
Okay. So what I was saying is, there's, for example, there's one video that said that the cameraman says that, yeah, that must be me. That's my brother. He died on that day, and he died, and those were his initials. What the video shows is that the cameraman had a tattoo that had the initials and the dates on it. And so it's very hard for the psychic to be able to get that information, the initials and the date, and I think it said RIP, and obviously it's going to be somebody close to the person if he's got a tattoo. The problem with that is that it is possible, well, the psychic could have said that she was still getting the initials and the date from the person who passed over, and she didn't see the tattoo with the date and the initials on it. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to put controls so that there was no way that even the people who attended the show, some of the things we didn't even know. So if somebody had seen our Facebook post, the only way they could have got the information was by reading the Facebook post. They couldn't have got it from us because we didn't even know the information ourselves.
So psychic Tim Braun, I believe is his name, was the focus of within Operation Ice Cream Cone, and I'm not familiar with him. I haven't really heard his name until I read your blogs and learned about this operation. Can you tell us about what happened, how it was conducted, and sort of what was the result of this operation with Tim Braun?
Okay, terrific. Well, I hadn't heard of him either, but Tim is endorsed by James Von Prague on James Von Prague's website. So if James Von Prague is endorsing this person, well, then he should be legitimate, I would hope. So we had talked to several other psychics, and because we were trying to do a hot read, and because we were trying to prove a hot read, and because we were using Facebook to do this, and there's many ways of doing it. You could use Twitter, you could use Instagram, you could use many different ways of doing it. We just picked Facebook. We needed to make sure that the person we picked was someone on Facebook and who was very savvy to able to use social media. And several psychics that we looked at were still using words like tape recording, and they only wanted to talk to you by phone, and it just seemed like they weren't quite socially media conscious. So we settled on Tim, and it was between him and another person, and we finally just settled on him. Actually, there were several choices, but we settled on this person.
Do you think that Tim may have already been outed by a hot read before, and maybe not just Tim, maybe several other psychics in your scope may have been sort of outed before, and they can sort of pick up on those signs of when people are maybe being a little too dramatic or being a little too open, and they sort of know when they can do a hot read or when they can't do a hot read. Do you think that may have been the case with Tim?
Well, that's a really great question, and I don't have the answer. It would be my opinion only, and my opinion with all the. Now, I've been involved in psychics for years. Investigating, reading about them, watching the videos, getting readings and things like that. These aren't our first time. This isn't our first rodeo. We've done this many times in different ways, but I think that Tim probably, at least in this case, didn't do a hot read. He probably doesn't do hot reads because cold reading is so easy. It's so much easier to do. You just go with the flow. People who believe, especially if you've paid a few $100s, want to believe so badly that they're going to try to make sense of whatever you say. And if they get something wrong, well, that's too bad. They're just having a bad day. I think that, I don't think that he's been outed. I don't think that any of these people have been outed really about the hot reads. We had so many strong controls on this. I can't believe there'd be any way they would have known that we were doing this. We did everything possible to make it a hot read. I mean, the article I wrote was just, I had to keep it down to so many words, but it was very detailed. I have everything still. I have all the, in case we have been approached by other reporters hoping to do a story on this, and we really have all the evidence. So they can write and contact Tim and Chip and ask them what happened.
What was the result, I guess, from this mission with Tim Braun? Did you finally, I don't know, if maybe half caught him, or was it not successful at all in everything that you tried to portray?
Well, what we were able to prove to our satisfaction is that in this case, he didn't use a hot read. He did not look at our Facebook page. He did not look at the evidence that we had left. We left some really great stuff for him to find, and he did not look at it. And we approached him many times through Facebook, putting our Facebook profiles underneath his nose so that he would be able to look at it. In this case, he did not use a hot read, and I don't know if he ever has used a hot read. I haven't, as far as I know, he never has. What we were able to prove is, and without any doubt, is that he was not able to tell that the person he was talking to on the phone was not, he did not have a son named Andrew, did not have a son at all, did not have another son. He was saying over and over and over, and the audio is up on YouTube, and we recorded that audio with his permission. In fact, he mailed us the audio. We paid an extra $10 so we could get the audio from him. So the audio is on YouTube. Anybody can listen to it. He clearly stated that he sees Andrew over and over. Oh, it's coming through very clearly. Oh, he is trying to tell you this. He's trying to tell you that. But there was no way that the person he was talking to she didn't have a child. She was not married. Everything was not true. And we put controls on this. The person who did this, Heather, who was the sitter, she didn't even know what was on the Facebook page. She didn't know anything. So he couldn't have been reading her mind because she didn't know anything. Because that person, she was given a script with the basic information. We said, your son's name is Andrew. He was 13 when he died. He died in this month and this year. I've never said how he died. You can say however you want, whatever you want to say. That kind of thing. I didn't say if she was married. I didn't say if she, anything. So she didn't know what was on the Facebook page. She had no clue what her story was. She just agreed to anything that Tim said, and she just went with it. And then when we connected afterwards, when she hung up the phone, then we let her look at her Facebook page, and she was able to look through it and say, not a single thing on here he didn't look at the Facebook page. It's obvious. But he also did not know that the person he was talking to not only was not a mother, but she did not have a child named Andrew who died at age 13 or any age. So how was he able to clearly see this child? He told us that the child was eating Cool Ranch Doritos and loved her very much and wanted her to stop smoking, and she doesn't smoke. He wanted her to tell her all about his friends. He wanted to talk about bicycle riding and how he rode his motorcycle and how much he loved her and how he went to Burger King and on and on and on. And none of that's true. In fact, everything, he said didn't check out. Nothing. So how was he able to clearly see this child when there's no child to see? He also saw his brother. He also saw her aunt. He also saw friends and a father. But none of those people existed. So how could he see these people? How could he clearly see these people? How could he be so confused? I don't understand. I'd love to hear how that happened.
Okay. Susan, now, to be fair and professional, I do believe in psychics. Not all of them, but a majority are real in my world. So, in real-world occupations, no one's ever 100% correct or on their A game all the time. Do you think you can judge a psychic based off of one operation action?
Let me tell you this, Lucy. If you were to go to a surgeon, would you want that surgeon to be right on the first try? Do you think it's fair for a person to go to get a plumber or electrician and have them come to your house and say they've rewired your house or fixed your plumbing? How are you going to evaluate that? They should be certified. They should be tested. They should have some sort of recommendation by the state or by somebody saying, yes, this is real. I mean, if you do believe that there are some psychics that are real and some psychics that are not, how do you test that? There's ways of testing it. Why when we ask them to test them, they say, oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. There's ways of testing them, and I think that they should, put their money where their mouth is. I mean, if you are paying them for a service, there should be evidence that they are doing what they said. So, I mean, it's a consumer protection. And if you believe that some are real and some are not, then you need to be able to differentiate between them. And anecdotes are not evidence. So somebody telling you a story about it is not evidence. They need to have some way of testing them, and it's easy to test them. They just have to agree to being tested, and most won't agree to it. And why won't they? Why wouldn't you want to prove it? Why wouldn't they want to take the $1 million challenge? Even if they don't want to take the $1 million challenge, it's simple to prove. It really isn't that difficult. But for some reason, they won't do it.
Well,
let me ask you this question really quick. Let me ask you this question. Anthony and Lucy, are there paranormal beliefs that you do not believe in? Is there anything out there that you do not 100% believe in that you think is nonsense?
At this point in my life, there are things that I don't believe in anything that I haven't experienced yet, or that I haven't seen for myself, or I haven't seen any of the evidence for. So, for instance, I can't say right now 100% I believe in Bigfoot. I've never seen one. I've never seen any evidence that would sway me in any direction. So there are things within the paranormal world that I don't believe in as of yet, but the difference is, I still keep an open mind to the fact, because I believe in other paranormal aspects that I know are true because I've seen it with my own eyes. I can't deny the fact that I have. Whether or not somebody else believes it, that's, not on me, that's on them. So I can't close my mind off of other things. I keep my mind a little bit open to the fact that in my world, anything can happen because I believe in certain aspects of the paranormal. There could be a Bigfoot. I don't know, but I don't believe it right now. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, or nothing will happen in the future that won't make me believe it. That's sort of where I'm at right now.
I'm in the same situation. I mean, with the things that I've experienced so far, I do know in my mind that there is something, to the paranormal. There is something to certain aspects of it. Again, I've never seen Bigfoot, so I can't say that I do believe in it, but I'm not going to close my mind and say, no, there definitely isn't any Bigfoot because I've never seen him. Same thing with psychics. I mean, like you said, consumer protection. I believe in the abilities, but I also believe, it's kind of like if we're talking about a service, it is also buyer beware. I believe that no one should base life decisions off a psychic reading. You know, that just does not make sense. It does not click for me. Okay? But I do believe that this ability exists in people.
Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. So, well, two things. One thing is a lot of people do base their life decisions on a psychic. And there's been many, many cases of large sums of money being taken from people who have been completely bankrupted, and their lives have been ruined based on what a psychic has told them. And it's like a crutch of any kind. My boyfriend is Mark Edwards. He's an expert on psychics, and he did a show for, oh gosh, he's done a lot of different shows. I can't remember.
We lost Susan again. Maybe somebody's trying to tap in and get her off the air.
I don't know. This has never happened. So hold on one second.
Well, her line sounds a little funny. There's some sort of hissing there, so I'm not sure if there's a connection issue or take her off the bubble, Luci. You have to be in the bubble with her if you need to do it.
It's one of the paranormal. It's paranormal.
Hi, Susan.
So, yeah, I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm not touching anything. My battery's fully charged too. It must be some kind of spirit wants to get through and is trying to shut me off, trying to silence me.
Or maybe some psychic is tapping into your line and trying to cut you off.
Yeah, who is out there who is not? I know there's somebody out there. I feel their energy. They are trying to shut me down. I know it. I can feel it. Somebody in New Jersey, I know is, yes, I see you. You have dark hair, and you have on your pinky finger, there is a ring that was owned by your mother. I mean, okay. Anyway, so my point is that if I'm open to psychics, oh my God, I would absolutely love to be able to communicate with the people who have passed over in my life. I would love to. I mean, I could cry right now thinking about my parents and how much I miss them and how I would love to talk to other people who I've known or haven't known, like grandparents and great-grandparents. I have so many questions for them. You do not know how badly I would love to believe in life after death. Oh, my gosh. And I'm open to it. But I need a little more evidence than just a few stories or a few experiences or somebody feeling like I've been touched. I have to have a little bit more than, a lot bit more.
Okay.
I have to talk about Operation Bumblebee now, because this whole idea for the show tonight spawned, and I don't know, Susan, if you know this, but the whole idea for this show tonight spawned and happened on my personal Facebook page. I had posted Sheldon's article about Operation Bumblebee on my page last week or a week and a half ago. And within a few hours, Chip Coffey responded on my Facebook page, and what he did was he posted his rebuttal, a blog that he created, his rebuttal to the operation that you guys conducted. And after he posted that, I asked him, to come on the show. I wanted to talk to him about it if that was the case. I mean, on his rebuttal blog, he stated that he would come on to any media and talk about basically what he said is that he knew that you guys were doing this, and he was just going along with it, but he knew all along. And so I wanted to talk to him more about it. And in his blog, he said, I'll talk to any media, bring it on, basically. And so I invited him, and he quickly refused. And he proceeded to say to me that if I'm a friend, I mean, I was really a Facebook friend. I wasn't a friend. He says, if you were my friend on Facebook, you should not be posting this. And so my response to him was, and this is, quote, well, since I haven't had a chance to physically speak with you and you won't discuss it on air with me, then how can I determine what is false and what is real? Just being friends doesn't mean automatic belief. I'm sure you had friends that turned out to be shady or did shady things and wonder why. If your story is not false, then I would love to be able to get it out there for everyone to know. That's support. And so my question to you first, to you, Susan, is how did you come to choose Chip Coffey for Operation Bumblebee?
Oh, that's a great question. Chip Coffey is someone that we have been dogging for years. So I find it very odd that he said that he knew all about this. I mean, it only made him look really bad by a report. He stood next to me. He held my purse to have a picture taken. He thought it was funny. He called on us when there was 200 people in the room, but yet he called on us. There was only maybe 10, 15 people he called on. Why did he call on the 3 skeptics? If he knew. Why did he stand there and take a picture with us without saying anything? All of us, even the people in L.A., there was probably 15 people who went. Why did he take pictures with us without making a comment if he knew? And this is the first I've heard of it. I haven't heard anything from him except today. He posted on his Facebook page something about that Susan Gerbic has, been saying stuff, and she failed to catch me in a hot read and all this, and people are like, oh, you go, Chip. But yet he didn't post the blog. He didn't post my article. He didn't even mention what it was all about. All he did was say that I have been, that I tried to catch him and I failed to catch him, which is true. I failed to catch him in a hot read because he did not hot read in this case. So, but he did talk to our dear departed people who do not exist. He talked to all 3 of us. What? You'll have to talk to Sheldon. Sheldon will tell you all about that when you talk to him in a few minutes. But so we picked Chip Coffey because we have been working with on him for years. I mean, we've been to many of his shows. We've, been following him around for years. He just has never known it. Well, they kind of knew it at one point, but he doesn't know that we're part of a bigger group of people. He doesn't know that, or why would he, why would they allow us in? We went in with our names. Like, we walked in the door. How did he not know? I talked to his manager. I mean, hello? I mean, if he knew that we were fraudulent, if he knew we were skeptics, and if that's what he's saying on his blog, then why did he see my son? Why did he see my dear son, Matthew, who was 3 years old when he died? Why did he tell me he saw my son? I don't have a son named Matthew. I don't have a 3-year-old that died. I don't have any of that. None of that's true. So how did he see my son? How did he see the woman who came with us, her sister who died in 9/11 in the tower? How was he able to see her die? How did he know when she doesn't exist? And Sheldon's mom, she's alive and well. How is it he was able to see her in the past and that she was dead? If he really was going along with it, why would he go along with it? That doesn't make any sense at all. He's not a stupid man. Come on now. That makes no sense at all. He clearly saw these people. He's having a conversation with them. How could he have a conversation with them when they don't exist? That's what I want to know.
And this operation was done in California at one of his gallery reads, I believe. And would you say that, and I've heard you talk about this on other shows before, so I kind of know the whole story about what happened and the 3 of you that were in there and, him calling on all 3 of you. And so I think it was you that was talking about how you would talk to the people around you that were sitting next to you and talk about this quote-unquote, fake story basically on your lives. And you had brought pictures of your real son, but he wasn't really dead. And so sort of, creating, I guess, the hot read at that moment, do you think that there may have been, I know you say that wasn't successful, but do you think that there may have been people, sort of minions or whoever, around in that audience that heard you talking about it, and wouldn't that be considered a hot read and catching him in a hot read then?
Yeah, but we can't prove that.
Right.
I was going for, I want clear evidence. I mean, not only do, I think it's only fair. I mean, this is his livelihood. And I think that because, I mean, I can't say one way or the other that he, I can't say that there was minions in the audience. I did talk to the manager, and I did ask the manager if I said, if he can see my son, and if he can get a reading from my son, I said, I want to get an actual private reading with him. I said, I know we don't have time for a full reading today, so I want to know if he could reach my son. But I said, I'm really worried. My son was just a little boy. He didn't have great, he wasn't talking. Is Chip going to be able to see my son? And the manager said, he's read stillborn babies. So I said, okay, good. He's read stillborn babies, because I'm really worried he's not going to be able to reach my son. I'm really worried he's not going to be able to talk to him because he's so young. And then maybe 20 minutes later, Chip on the stage said, yes, I know that you're worried that I'm not going to be able to reach your son, or I'm not going to be able to communicate with your son. I know you're really worried about that. Well, the only person I had told that to was his manager 20 minutes earlier, but I have no evidence of that. I only have, it's just a story, and a story is not evidence. And I can only, it's just a story. It's just, that's nice. I could make it up. All I can go with is the evidence that's there. That's why it was important to have the hot reads. But, yeah, the people around us, when you read Sheldon's account, it's exactly like he said. We were talking about 9/11 very loudly, and then he comes up on stage and he starts saying 9/11 as if it just came to him. And it's like, well, yeah, we were just talking about that a few minutes ago very loudly to everyone in the room, So, very good. Well, he could have gotten it from his spirit guide easily. But the person he was talking to had no connection to 9/11. That was all made up. So why would his spirit guide start talking about 9/11 to Jan, who was sitting next to me? Why would he start talking to her about it? It had nothing to do with the fact that when he mentioned 9/11, I grabbed her and we acted like we were crying and we were hugging on each other, just like anybody else, dabbing our eyes with Kleenex. I mean, we looked exactly like anybody else in that audience. And, Chip and all the other mediums out there, they need to know that he could look for me. He could look for other people in his audience. We have people all over the world who are around that could be in the audience tomorrow, the next show, and the next show. It's not me. There's tons of us. So, be tested. Be honest. I don't think it's fair for him to play people's emotions.
Okay, so Susan, do you think you would have done anything different knowing what you know now after completing both operations?
Great. Maybe I really wish we could have worn a wire, but that was wrong. We couldn't have done that because if we had, then it wouldn't be admissible. But that would be fantastic. I mean, I would have loved to have had a wire on me when I talked to the manager to have gotten that part, that would have been great. But I can't do that. My experts tell me that that's not the right thing to do because I would have been wrong. I can't think of anything that we would have done differently. It's a really terrific question, Luci, except that we need to expand it and do more. And this was easy to do. I mean, it was time-consuming, obviously. The skeptic community gave me all the money. I have had tons of people say that they would donate more money to do this again for maybe not Chip, to do for other psychics. There's lots of work to do. We could easily expand this if we wanted to. And, I guess that might be, I think maybe if I could do it again, I might not release what I was doing as I was doing it, because I think that was a mistake. Probably I should have just kept it quiet for a few years and just spent a few years doing it and not said anything and then released it at the end of a few years. So, I mean, I still could do that, or one of hundreds of other people could do it if they wanted to. It's still an easy way to doing it.
So I'm curious to know, If Chip Coffey
Yes.
or Tim Brown were on the show right now, what would you say to them?
You know, I guess if I could say it, and I thought he would actually take me serious, which I doubt he would, because, you know, obviously, this, like I say, this is a livelihood. I would say, how can you live with yourself? How can you do this? How can you, I mean, this, I think that maybe you should ask Sheldon about the woman that was there whose boyfriend died 5 days before. But that was just egregious. It was, I mean, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? How can you do this? I don't understand. I mean, we just did a thing with John Edward, and I don't understand why. If they have this ability, why are you not at the police station right now going through the cold case files? Why are there so many missing people out there? Why are you not taking care of this? I know Chip Coffey says that he doesn't do that kind of stuff because he's afraid it's going to harm his family members, that people who are criminals are going to come after his family if he starts trying to solve cases. But I have a little more, if I had this ability,
Again.
The third time we lost her again. I don't know what's wrong. There's some hissing noise that I keep hearing on her end, so it may be a connection problem. So I'm hoping that we can get her back. Hopefully we'll get her in a minute.
Oh my God!
There you are.
Well, let me just finish that thought. It's just that I say that I think that if you have this ability, you have the obligation to use it to solve crimes, to find lost children, to I would say, why are you not using this to better mankind? I do think, though, if they have this ability, they'd be the most dangerous person on earth. They would be at the CIA in a basement somewhere with wires in their head, and they'd be using you to remote view into Russia and to ISIS and all that other stuff. Why are they not using these abilities for good? Instead, they're finding lost keys and talking to Grandpa whose name starts with a J or an R or something like that. And why are you not using this to find where ISIS is held out, and we can take care of that problem? Why are people being held abducted in homes somewhere, being raped every day? Why are you not helping those people? What kind of person are you that you can't stand up to that? You can't do that? You can't, why? My child was gone and missing, and I knew that somebody had this ability. Why are they only going to say, oh, well, somebody with a beard took him and their body's next to a rock near a river somewhere?
You make valid points. I'm sure people probably will disagree with me or you in my opinion of that, but I think you do make valid points on that. And I must admit that I do respect what you're doing, and I can say from experience that there are a lot of psychics out there that are vampires, but I do believe in a select few that I have come in contact with that truly do have an ability. And, hot reading or not, or cold reading, I don't know. I have, and my audience and listeners know this, and Luci knows this of me. I always have a skeptical eye open, always. I even question some of the things that, pop into my head all the time about things, and I sort of play lawyer in my head. I do, I play both sides of the fence a lot of the times. But I was always taught that you should also with psychics never give any info to a psychic and let them do all the talking. But I told this story a while ago. I was suckered into one that tried to force me to buy a $200 candle that was supposed to get rid of some curse or whatever. I think that was like the very first psychic I ever went to. And as soon as I heard that, I walked right out of the room and, obviously didn't believe anything else that they were saying to me. But do you believe, and I think you sort of alluded to it a little bit before, but do you believe that there could be just one psychic out there that may have this gift?
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's possible. But I believe that person is keeping their mouth shut, and they're not on the stage. They're not on TV. They're not doing it because, as I said, if somebody had this ability, not only would it probably drive them nuts, I think they'd be in an insane asylum, constant barrage of all this information. Can you imagine how depressing that would be to be talking to dead people all day long? I think that would just be horrendous, never having privacy. I think they may be walking the street talking to themselves right now. Either that, or they'd have to keep their mouth shut, and they would be, because they know that the government would come and take them and put wires in their head and put them in the basement of the CIA. I mean, seriously, come on, let's take this to the fullest extent. If this happens, if this person has this ability, then what is the likelihood of this happening? If a person could move objects with their mind, let's say you can move something an inch, well, then they can move satellites up in the sky, and that would be super dangerous. This is what my boyfriend's always saying, Mark Edwards. He says, if you could move a satellite an inch in the sky, wouldn't that be like the most dangerous thing you could possibly do? And the CIA would have I say the CIA, it could be whoever you want to say, what the government would have you wired up somewhere. Because that would be so dangerous to humankind. If you can control the weather, if you could predict anything, then, and the answer they always give is, what's the answer they always give? It don't work that way. Well, then how does it work? Because you can, if you're on the stage and you can see my grandmother waving a can of Vicks Vapor Rub, which is what Chip did at the San Jose show, and he said, some guys, who is it who's got keys in their pocket? Who's making the noise with the keys in the pocket? It's like, really? That's it? That's the best you can do? I mean, there's so many questions out there that need to be answered, and the best you got is Vicks Vapor Rub and a bag of Dorito chips and keys in the pocket? Really? And what is my grandfather's name, by the way? I mean, it's not that hard. He knows his name. If he can show you, he can tell you what city he's from. He can tell you what year he died. And even that wouldn't be great evidence because it could be obtained by hot reads. So, but there's ways of doing this. There's lots of ways of proving this. It's just that they don't want to be proved. They don't want to have the tests done.
You're right.
I think I'd want to. So, yes, I do agree. It is likely, it is possible, but I believe that person is probably wandering the streets totally mentally ill or thinks they're mentally ill because they are hearing voices. Very likely. I would be nuts, too.
Will there be any more operations, and are you hoping, obviously I'm sure you're hoping to get the smoking gun, but are there any more operations in the works right now?
I really wouldn't be able to say. There's all kinds of things that are happening at once. I'm extremely a busy person. This is just one thing that I do. Right now, my Wikipedia group is working on vaccinations, improving Wikipedia pages for vaccinations, because I think it's really important that there is great information out there about getting vaccinations because, we have almost eradicated measles in America and Australia and so on, and then a bunch of people who don't understand what evidence means have decided that they don't want to have a vaccine. So that's one of the things I'm really concentrating on right now is trying to make sure that there's really good information out there. I know it has nothing to do with the paranormal, but it has everything to do with critical thinking. And people believe they believe that vaccines don't work on the same evidence as that we're getting from the psychic. Because my brother told me, because I had this circumstance where I had a vaccination of the flu, and the next thing I know, I had the flu. They're using stories and anecdotes when the science is right there in front of them, and they're totally ignoring it. So I think that it's all the same thing. People are not thinking critically. They're believing their best friend's cousin's story. They're believing a personal story that they happened to them, and they're not looking at evidence. And we really need to make sure our babies are safe and they're vaccinated, and the people who can be vaccinated, because some children can't be vaccinated, some people can't be, and we have to make sure our herd immunity is really strong. So to answer your question is, I am more than willing to run another one of these things. Even if I had one going, I probably wouldn't say I had one going. Sorry. But, you know, I am very open to the idea of doing more of these. It can easily be done again. It's time-consuming, but I have that kind of personality that will do it. And I could easily train other people how to do it. Or they could just take what I've learned and just, you know, do it their own way. Sure. No reason why not.
Well, you know what? This has been very interesting, Susan, and we want to thank you for coming on the show. Where can our listeners go to learn more about you and your organizations?
Okay, well, I'm always open to any kind of conversation as long as it's respectful and as long as it is, you know, open to it. And I think that we have more in common than we think. I think that the people who are believers in ghosts and psychics, I bet you anything that we have an awful lot in common. Like you guys said about Bigfoot, I don't believe in Bigfoot either. I'm more likely to believe in Bigfoot than psychics, but you can get a hold of me, and anybody else can reach me at SusanGerbic.com. That's the easiest place. You can see videos I have up there. You can reach me on Facebook, on Twitter. I'm everywhere. And, you know, please contact me if you have questions. I would love to look at your evidence. I'd love to hear your stories. I love a good ghost story. Aren't they great? Especially with a nice fire going and, you know, some chocolate and ice cream. Yeah, I love ghost stories. I think they're great. I've had several myself. I have many myself. I love them.
Well, Susan, thank you again, and we hope you will come back to talk about your future operations.
I appreciate it. Your guys have been really, really respectful. You've been really great, and I hope your listeners have a great open mind and, you know, just understand I'm coming from a different area, and I just feel very passionate about evidence. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Susan, so much. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Why are you standing there smiling?
Because people are entitled to their own opinions. They are entitled to believe what they want to believe and what they don't want to believe. This topic, of course, to me, really is very close because, I don't know, it's just it's hard to say. I mean, there's so many thoughts that were going through my head during this whole thing.
Like what?
Like, I do believe in psychic ability. I do believe that it can be done. But I also believe that there are people out there that can't do it or maybe are deceiving people. I think sometimes maybe money becomes a motivating factor instead of helping people. That I would agree.
So is your viewpoint any different than Susan's?
Yes. I mean, as far as, you know, searching people out and trying to prove them wrong, yes. I mean, I can see that. And I think maybe, yes, it does need to be done. But as far as how do you regulate something like psychic ability? How do you test it other than, you know, setting up this kind of situation? I mean, we don't really know what it is. So how can you definitively say it does not exist? Or I was laughing because the way she said it, and of course you pointed at me, if someone has this ability that they would be insane. Yes, I'm insane. Yes, the voices sometimes get a little overwhelming. Yes, being an empath is probably one of the most horrible things in the world because you feel everything around you. But you learn to deal with it. You learn to work with it. To me, it does exist because I go through it. When I do a reading for someone, I don't ask questions. That's the main thing that I tell everybody. Don't tell me anything. I don't have the time to go through a Facebook page. I don't have time to go through any kind of social media. In fact, I prefer reading for strangers as opposed to someone that I don't know. Because if I read for a stranger, chances are I'm going to get a better reaction, that they are going to let me know, oh, yeah, that does make sense. I haven't come across any readings that I've done where someone has out and out said, no, that's not right. And I tell them if something doesn't make sense, say so. But I also believe, too, that, like I said before, no one should make your life decisions on a psychic reading. That has nothing to do with psychic ability. That has to do with logic. I mean, you're not going to go to a stockbroker and he tells you that, oh, this stock is going to make you millions. Oh, sure, here's my hard-earned $5,000. Take my last $5,000 and invest it. No, you're going to do a little research. The same thing with psychics and mediums. You look at, you do a little bit of research. You talk to other people that have readings. Has this person been accurate? Have you really gotten something from this person? Yeah. The more people that I hear that say, oh, yeah, you know what, this person's really, really good, been right on point, most likely I'm going to go to that person for a reading as opposed to just opening up the Internet and, oh, yeah, this one's on TV. I think I'll go for this one. There's a little bit, there's common sense. And I think that is important for everybody, anybody that's considering a psychic reading or going to a medium. You do have to do your research.
Yeah, but you know that. You have the common sense to know what is real and what is not real when somebody is pulling your leg or peeing on your leg, as people say, and when they're not. There's a lot of people that don't know that are, and not only for the fact that they are, in the grieving stages, because that's when most people seek out psychics, is when they've had a lost one that is gone and they are, still getting over it, or that they are so distraught and depressed their mindset is not there. And so when you're in that mode, you're not capable of making a rational decision. And so when you see someone who, whether it's a name or not a name, they will go to them regardless, and sort of ignoring possibly the idea of, oh, well, let me go research them and see if they're well worth it or not. They're not going to, because they've heard people talking about them and how great they are, and it's sort of a domino effect, and that's how, these folks get a lot of them. I get that. But, and to be perfectly honest with our audience tonight, I was getting a lot of, I don't know what the right word is to say, trepidation from you in doing the show. I guess that's a good word to say, trepidatious. You were a little uneasy about doing it because obviously you have different thoughts and a different perspective than Susan does. I do too, but I appreciate what her and her group is doing, because I want those frauds off the stage. If she catches them, and if there is proof, I don't know what proof would be, but if there is, I want them away. I don't want them scamming folks. I don't want that psychic who was trying to sell me a $200 candle to get rid of a curse to be making any more money. Who knows what she's doing now after 15 years, I guess it's been. she could still be making money and you know, conniving people into buying those $200 candles. I want that person off. I want them to get a real job. You know, I don't want them making money off of the grievance of others and the you know, gullibility or gullible other folks out there who haven't done the research for them to swindle them out of money. I appreciate what this group is doing, and you know, I see all the time, and there were even a lot of the comments that when we posted it and when you posted it on your Facebook page, people were like, you know, this group is horrible. They should not be doing this. They need to be getting a life of their own and let these psychics do whatever they want to do. They're good people, and if they are frauds, then karma will get them in the end. When is karma going to get them in the end? After how many thousands and thousands of dollars that they've taken from people? I don't want that. And I gave a scenario on your Facebook page, a comment that some woman wrote, and I said, you know, if this was a doctor, if this was the medical field, and a doctor was doing this, and somebody knew that this doctor was a quack, and I was seeing this doctor, I would want them to let me know. I want to know if they found out that he is or she is a quack, and so that I won't go to them anymore. I would hate to feel as though that if somebody knew that this doctor was a quack, and I'm continuing going to them, and they didn't say anything, I'd be even more angry that nothing was done. And so I get what they're doing, and I understand, you know, maybe it's hitting you a little bit personal, because of the fact that, you know, they may be going against all psychics, and I say that in air quotes. Yes, they are, maybe, but that was one of the reasons why I asked Susan, you know, do you honestly believe that there's just one psychic out there that has the ability? And she said yes, she does believe it. She does believe, she doesn't negate the whole idea of psychics. I think it's just a matter of finding the truth, and that's what we always talk about, is finding the truth in everything.
Well, no, I do agree, and talking to her has changed my thoughts a little bit. My whole thing is that I don't like grouping everybody into the same bucket. You know, all psychics are bad. Psychic ability isn't real. That's my perspective, because in my world, yes, it is real. In my world, yes, there are people that can make contact. But I do agree that there are people out there that may not be on the level, that they're not really out to help people. That is it's become a business to them. It's become a way to make money. Just like in other factions of the paranormal, you know, you've got people that are out there that want to do investigations just so that they can get a name, just so that they can be on television, just so that they can, you know.
Right. Wouldn't you want to weed them out?
Yeah, but I'm
because they give you a bad name. They give us a bad name.
Yeah, they do, but I still believe that everything comes out in the wash. I think that the cream comes to the top and all the negative floats to the bottom. I do believe in the karma thing. I think if you do something with bad intent, it's going to come back to you one way or another.
Now, I know, you know, in doing the research, obviously, James Randi doesn't believe at all in any of the psychic abilities at all. He thinks he's the one that pretty much groups everyone together and says none of this is true, none of this is factual. And, you know, I say this all the time, and I delve myself into these shows each and every week. And so much so that, you know, everybody says to me, and even in work, why are you so tired? Why do you look so tired? You look dead. Yeah, I look dead. I look tired because I'm constantly on the internet whenever we have a show, and up until the night before we have the show, I'm constantly still doing just research if there's anything that I can catch. And there was one video that I found online last night that was like an aha moment for me. not an aha moment, but it really put this whole idea into perspective for me. And forgive me because I don't remember the video. I can probably find it, and maybe I can post it on our page. But it was a woman who does these video blogs all the time, and she talks about spiritualism and all of this stuff. And I don't know if she's learning to be a psychic or is a psychic or a tarot reader. Something was to that effect in the very beginning of this video. But there was a thing that she talked about, and she brought up a person by the name of Thomas Troward, who I'm not even sure who he was, but he lived in, I believe, in the 1800s. And he stated this quote many, many years ago. And the quote goes like this: "The law of flotation was not discovered by contemplating the sinking of things, but by contemplating the floating of things which floated naturally, and then intelligently asking why they did so." And she went on to talk about and say that, sort of back in the olden days when they were discovering what types of things float and what types of things sink, they would throw a log into the water, right? And obviously when you throw a piece of wood into water, it floats. And so these people said, oh, wow, wood floats. Okay, wood floats then. And then they threw a piece of iron in the water, and the iron water sank. And so they said, oh, okay, iron sinks. So the belief was you can make a boat. You couldn't make a boat out of iron, but that was because they were contemplating on how things sink. But when they changed and they started to concentrate on how things float, they found that, and obviously we know today, iron can float. So if you're concentrating on how things don't work, you're not going to discover on how things do work. And so that, to me, brought it into perspective for me in the understanding of not just the psychic field, but paranormal in general. And so if you're constantly finding what's wrong or what is not working within the paranormal field, what people would commonly say as that's not scientific evidence, and so you're concentrating on that part of it, you're never obviously going to understand what the paranormal is all about because you're not concentrating on what makes the paranormal work. How does it work? And so she also went on to talk about how Richard Dawkins, who's this big skeptic, everybody knows about him, he once went to a tarot card reader, and the tarot card reader read him his cards, and he said, okay, great, thank you. And at the same time, he says, okay, now give me another reading right now. And she did another reading for him, and it was different cards. But the concept was the same. The reading sort of was the same, but it had sort of a different aspect to it. And so that's when he said that he started to not believe in it because the same cards should have come up the second time. But this woman in this video then mentioned that the universe gives you, and we've all talked about this, the universe gives you what you attract. And so if you give off a certain energy, then you're going to get that energy back, or that energy is manifested within your life. And so if you don't believe, the universe will provide you with the evidence that holds your belief to be true. So that's why people say that you should be open and honest with your energy in order to experience what the universe can share with you. And so it's sort of like constantly having a negative mindset. You're always going to have negativity in your life. And I know this sort of goes into the hoodoo, voodoo, spiritualism, and so obviously if you're not a skeptic, you're not going to believe in it, but it goes to that fact that you're in that mindset already. And so because you're stating that, no, that can't be true because where's the evidence for it, and science doesn't back it up, and so therefore it's not there. You need to prove it to me that it actually works. And this woman in this video was talking about how because you're in that mindset, the universe is giving you what you want. It's giving you those answers because that's what you're asking for. And so if you're asking for to be open and you're asking for answers that you are willing to contemplate on and think about and possibly pursue, then the universe will give you a whole other set of answers that lean towards that direction. So it was a really, I guess, awe-inspiring, maybe the word for this. I mean, she really, she was very down to earth and not a speaker, and I'm not a speaker, obviously, because I couldn't recall it very well to you guys. But I'm going to try and see if I can find this video and post it, because she made a whole lot of sense, better than what I've just explained right now. And I hope whatever I did say maybe sunk in somewhere, or at least made you think a little bit about this whole idea of skeptics versus psychics.
Well, everything you said, I mean, that's exactly what I believe. I mean, I believe that it is your what energy you're putting out. You sit and you say, no, I don't believe. Perfect example. I always said, you know what, I'm always going to be real fat. I'm always going to be huge. Always. And then finally there came a point where it was like I started saying, no, I'm going to change. And then the change happened. It wasn't until I opened my mind to it that, yes, I can change, that it happened. It's not just with psychic ability. It's not just with it's not just with the paranormal. I mean, every time we go on an investigation, I literally say to myself, you know, I am open to any experience, and we get them. You know, I don't have proof that these things are real, but to me they're real because I'm experiencing them. So, yeah, I can see where a person, if you haven't experienced it, if you haven't come in contact with it, chances are you're not going to believe it. And that, honestly, is probably the best way to look at things. You know, not to openly take everything, yeah, this is the truth, this is going to happen. Yeah, you need to question things. I just don't like blanketing everything into one bucket. I don't like saying, I don't like thinking, you know, that every psychic is bad, that every medium is bad, that every person that goes to search for Bigfoot they're crazy. I mean, I'm sure somebody somewhere has come in contact with this. I can only go, and here we go with the Native American stuff, okay? The histories and everything from Native Americans, they're all oral histories. They're all stories. So, yeah, it is something that your brother or your grandmother or your great-grandmother has told you. They don't have any proof. They don't have anything in writing because these stories aren't in writing. No one's ever documented them, but yet they're oral traditions, they're oral history, they're beliefs. And as I get older and the more I get involved in my Native American heritage, I'm learning that it's true. I'm getting those experiences, but I don't have a book that I can pick up. I don't have anything documented. This is our history. This is our heritage. These are the stories that are passed on by word of mouth. So, yeah, I mean, if someone does say, okay, when it comes to the Ouija board, everybody's got a story. Oh, you know, I've got a friend who this and that, and there's a cousin, and somebody got possessed. Personally, I don't believe it. I believe the Ouija is a tool. But yet, there are so many people out there that believe the Ouija is bad, it's negative, it's a portal to the dark side. But how do you know that? Oh, you know, because I know people that told me that.
Well, you know, obviously, there's something wrong with the board now. I can't see chat at all. Can you see chat?
No, I can't see anything. I was going to say something,
I swear to God, I don't know if it's Chip Coffey or Tim Braun or one of the psychics are creating something here. I hope everybody can still hear us, but there's something wrong with the board. I don't know what the heck it is. I do see the time still on air stream left, so I'm assuming this is still going, Luci. I don't want to cut off and come back on, and I'm afraid I'm going to lose anything. So we'll continue the chat, and hopefully after this, if it's recorded, then it's recorded. And if you guys are listening to us, my apologies, because we can't see anything in chat right now. So getting back to the whole point of the show tonight was the main reason why I wanted to do this, and I believe why you wanted to do this also too, was because of the incident that happened on my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have never have brought anything up if it wasn't for when Chip and his friends commented on my page in regards to the article that I had posted from Sheldon on my Facebook page. And so I never even read Chip's rebuttal response. And when he posted it on my page on that same thread line, I read his article, his blog, and what was weird about it, and what really, to me, didn't make sense, the investigator part of me didn't make sense, was the fact that he claims to have known that this was going on all along. And Susan had talked about it a little bit when I alluded to the fact that that's what he mentioned in his article or his rebuttal response to this whole operation. Yeah, he did take pictures with Susan. Susan has pictures of him holding up her I don't know if it was a purse or a bag. It's a pink bag or something. And this is after the gallery reading. This is when everything was done. So if you knew that this was a sting operation, would you take a picture with the people that were trying to dupe you or trying to quote-unquote expose you? So to me, that didn't make sense, number one. And number two, if you knew that they were these skeptics who were trying to trick you, then the great psychic, I know if it was me up on that stage, I would say, who are you kidding? You are not who you say you are. You are part of this group, blah, 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 and you're here to call me a fraud. So I'd like you to take your bags and leave the room. That's what I would have said to them if I was him, and I knew that. Is that something that any normal person would do?
Yeah, I mean, okay, that is one thing that did kind of bother me a little bit when I read. First off, there were a couple of things in the response that bothered me. The first thing was, you say that you're willing to talk to the media, and then when we did give him the opportunity and we invited him, he refused.
And he's been on radios since then, and after his post on the rebuttal, he's been on radio, and nobody has asked him about it. Nobody has talked to him about it, and he has not talked about it on air.
Well, the other part about it is that if you know that this person is not on the level, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not getting anything. Sorry, if you know that this person is not telling you the truth, that there is, nothing that, first off, there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm not getting anything, and there's nothing wrong with calling them out. Why would you stand and take pictures with them and be all smiley-faced and arms around everybody and everything's cool, No, that right there is not right. So to take their money? No, take your money. I don't need your money. You're here. You're not here on in a truthful manner. So therefore, I don't need you. I don't need you there. The second, another thing is I'd be talking about it every single day. I'd be defending what I did to everyone. If you're on the level, I got nothing to hide. I didn't get anything. This person came to me with, asking questions. I didn't get anything. So I don't know. I can't answer. I can't, I'm not going to make something up. And see, that's what I don't want to think it. But if you come up with a story and there's nothing there, did he really make it up? I mean, that's still the question that I have in my mind.
It goes along with if you can't get a reading from someone, then or if someone can't read you, then it should be said. And I've had people who have a hard time reading me because I'm very difficult to read. So many people tell me that. I don't know if it's because I'm not open enough or whatever, but people have said that to me. So I've gotten that response from psychics that say that you're very hard to read. I can't figure it out, and they're trying to figure it out. Now, what goes through a psychic's mind, I have no idea. And so is it that they're trying to pick up on the energy from me and getting communication from the other side, and somehow in between it's getting mixed, and therefore that's the confusion, and maybe some jumbled, conversations happen where they think that this is it. But what's funny is that, with Susan's group at this gallery reading, they had the stories, and that's why I had asked Susan this before. They had the stories, and he read those exact stories. And this was verbalized in the group with the other people that were sitting around them. And so, could that have been a hot read or not, or could it have been picked up? Maybe that story was picked up by the psychic, and that's what they were reading. That may be a far-fetched idea, but do you think that maybe Chip was getting those energies from those fake stories and therefore regurgitating them back?
I find that hard to believe.
I do too. I find that hard to believe too. I'm just trying to find out, in his defense, what it could have been, what it could be. But even in his own defense, he says he knew that they were fake. So whatever we try and figure out, like I could have understood the answer from him saying, well, because the story was so much in their mind and in their head, that's what I was getting and that's what I was reading. And those energies from those stories were coming to me. Whether they were fake or not, that's what was coming to me because that's the stories that they had in their mind at the time. I kind of would have believed that coming from him or from anyone. But to then state those stories right back to them and state those here's your son and here's your sister from 9/11, all this other stuff, regurgitating it right back and then stating, oh, well, I knew it all along. To me, that doesn't make sense. And that's why I wanted to talk to him.
That right there, I would like to understand where that's coming from. I can only base things on how I do it. And when I read somebody, okay, I can tell you this, you naturally close up. Within you, you're not going to let someone in. You don't totally open up when it comes to readings. I know that. Now, if a person is getting a reading from me, I find it so hard to believe, and maybe I'm just being naive, that a psychic would go and check this person out ahead of time. Half the times I don't know who I'm going to read for. I don't know when I'm going to do a reading. So it's the last thing on my mind to go and check and see, what does this person do? Who are they? And when I actually do the reading, I don't know how it works. It's just the cards are triggers and things come to my head and I just relay what I'm getting. And if there's something, honestly, there's been 2 people in my whole lifetime that when they asked me for a reading, I just couldn't. I just did not want to. There was something that about them, I don't know what it is, I never asked. I just did not read. I refused. And that's only happened a couple times. So I want to understand in this situation, I would have loved to heard what he was feeling, what he was getting. And then again, if you say you knew about it, then why didn't you just say something? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you want to prove your ability, or again, maybe he feels that he doesn't have to prove his ability. To me, I think your reputation is what you have to go on. And if you aren't sure of yourself or you how do I put this? If you do something like that, I believe the quote in the response was, if someone, or in his blog was, if someone's going to mess with me, I'll mess with them. That's not really something that a medium should be saying.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather have someone say, no, you know what, I'm not getting anything. I'm sorry. You want your money back? Here, take your money back. To me, that would show a little bit of, that would make me feel very good. To the point where I may go back to this person again because they were honest enough to say, I didn't get anything. Here, take your money back.
Well,
that's all the proof I need.
I agree with you. I would believe in a person that did that. I don't know anybody that has, but I can't speak for Chip. I tried to ask him to come on the show, and he refused, and then I got lambasted and accused of setting him up to come on the show by posting that article, which was a lot of BS. I didn't even comment on the article. I just posted the article. I didn't even say anything about whether I believe the article or not. And right away, I was accused and sort of in Facebook world bitch slapped by him, and so and then I was blocked and unfriended or whatever, and that was it. It just seemed to me as though he's the person, the kind of person that's like, well, if you don't believe in me, then I don't want to be near you. I get that. I understand that, but to me, that's why I talked to Susan tonight. I mean, obviously I don't have the same mindset as her, but I want to talk to her. I want to find out, what are some of the things that goes through a skeptic's mind like her to want to do what she does. And who knows, there could be something that I could learn from her, and I did learn a lot from her. I think before the show, I would have said that, she doesn't believe in anything at all, and that she is, like you were saying, she blankets everybody with this notion that they're all frauds if it's not scientifically proved. But what I'm gathering from her is she's not like that at all. She's, she does have a I don't know, maybe it's a small percentage, tiny, minute, atom-sized percentage of a belief in psychic ability, but to me that's still being open-minded. That's not closed if you're that way, and I appreciate that. But for people to not even understand what this group did and to only understand that they went against a psychic or tried to expose and debunk and discredit someone that they love and cherish, that they're the evil ones, that they're the ones that are bad and need to get a life. I saw so many comments from people, even before I was blocked from Chip, on his, because he posted on his page many posts about this. And there were hundreds of people. We love you, Chip, and we're for you, and they're no good, and they're evil, and all this other stuff. I get it. People are in love with the whole idea and what he does and everything else, and it's the fame, it's the recognition, and whatever. But that's who Susan and the group are trying to get to have them, make them understand that, do you really know who your psychic is? Do you really know why they do what they do and how they do it? Or do you just believe? And you know what just popped into my head just now?
What?
Because the same argument can be said for religion. And I'm not going to get on that. And again, that's where I stand. I'm not for it or against it. But, how do you believe in that? By just reading a book or maybe having your own personal, experiences. But I don't know. I'm going to end it there because I'm getting religion in my head right now and I got to stop.
I know, and that's the one thing I didn't want to go into. But I do have to say, okay, yeah, I did have apprehension before the show. You know, I really kind of felt like, okay, here's this blanket thought that, you know, all psychics are frauds, you know, that everybody is out to make money, you know, and stuff like that. But talking to her, I do feel better about it, and I do feel better about what they've done. You know, it is an investigative operation that they did. I get that. Okay, I understand that. But on the other hand, I don't want to take sides on either side of this issue because I don't have all the facts. I do have a lot more facts now on Susan's side. I'm just kind of disappointed that we didn't get facts from the other side. I mean, there's questions I would love to ask Chip. And I don't want to, and my intent is not to down him or not to call him out as a fraud. I just want to ask questions. That's how we learn. That's how everything that we've talked about the paranormal, about everything, that's how I learn. So I am disappointed that we didn't get Chip on the show. I'm disappointed that I can't ask those questions. And I just find it kind of weird that if you just post a story, which is that's all you did. You didn't comment. You didn't say anything, but yet whammo, you know, it was like you know, how could you do this, you know, and if you're not for me, then you're against me. I mean, come on, give me a break. Are we adults or are we still in the schoolyard? That's what it feels like.
We've had debates on this show before, and, you know, we've had non-believers and believers on before. You know, that's what this show is about. It is, we don't take one-sided on everything. There may be some things that we do, you know, because it's our strong belief in it, or our personal strong belief in it. But the forum that we've created is to have an open format for people to talk and discuss. And I want to learn from everyone, you know. Mm-hmm. I want to know, we've tried to reach out to Michael Sherman. I've tried to reach out to Richard Dawkins and before. And so these people I'd love to bring on the show and talk to and find out and have an intelligent, professional conversation about. I'm not here to, you know, there's other shows that tend to do that and sort of, you know, guise you into coming on and then you know, throw a bomb at you and you know, it's the bad mouthing and the words. I've heard it before on radio. What do you get out of that? You feel more powerful. I get it. You feel as though you're the winner. Yeah, I get it. But how does that help you in life? How does that help you in what you're trying to pursue? It doesn't. I'd rather sit and have a rational conversation with someone who has the opposite belief of me and learn why do they have that belief and understand it. But it seems as though that has sort of been lost somewhere, and everybody wants to be the bigger person. And maybe that's why we're not as a popular show as many others, because, you know, we don't do those types of things. Sometimes it happens on our show. We've been even accused of guising people in and then throwing bombs when wasn't even in the scope. They did it themselves, actually, if you remember, a certain Kirby.
Yes.
But you know, this is how I like to operate, and how Luci likes to operate. Sometimes Luci takes things a little bit more personal than I do, because it affects her differently. But I appreciate that, because again, what?
If you ever down unicorns, that's it. It's on.
Unicorns? Where did we get on unicorns?
No, you know what? Okay, so, like, as far as the show goes, and as far as getting both sides and having a conversation, one of the things that really kind of gets to me is, like, when you have somebody on a show, and it's nothing more than stroking and glorifying and yes and all that. That's fine. I get that. But I think I want to ask some questions. And if it's a question that I haven't heard asked before, I'd like to ask it. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. So, I don't know, maybe is that what motivates certain people to talk to us, or, you know, because we're not going to sit there and obviously, you know, rah, rah, rah. I mean, we've had people on this show that I don't agree with what they say, but it didn't stop me from never speaking to them again and blocking them and oh, no, this is horrible. I mean, perfect example is, you know, I honestly never really thought about the Church of Satan. You know, it was like, oh, you know, that's wrong and it's evil. But after talking to Corvus is one of the nicest, most intelligent, pleasant people that I've ever met. But I would never know that until we spoke with him. There's others that I had no idea what really they were talking about. You know, I have my own preconceived notions of things, but it's by that conversation that I do learn. And that's what I'm hoping that other people can do. But it seems like, especially in this situation, there was like, you're on this side or you're on this side. And there was no in between. And what I was hoping was to get both sides together and let's talk about this. Let me ask a couple questions. Let me get a few answers.
It was sort of petty in the way that all transpired on my Facebook page. But I have a question for you.
Yes.
If Chip Coffey were to be on the show tonight, what would be sort of the one question? If you only had one question to ask him, what would that one question be?
How did you know that these people were frauds? What were you getting? What were you feeling? What messages were you getting? Because, I mean, honestly, I don't know how he works. I've never had a reading from him, so I don't understand how he does what he does. And I'll say that for almost every other medium in the world. I really don't understand how it works. I just know that it happens. So I would like to know, how did you know, since you stated that you knew these people were frauds, how did you know that? And why didn't you say anything? That's the main question that I have. Well,
that's two questions. So you only get to ask, how did you know? And then I'll ask my one question, which is, and well, why didn't you say
why
anything?
Why did you say something? And it has nothing to do with downing anybody. It's not saying that you don't have abilities. I'm asking about one particular instance. That's all. I'm not talking about your whole career. I'm not talking about everything else. I just want to know about this one thing. I mean, obviously it became a big, giant thing the minute you posted the story. So, okay, why is it such a hot button? Tell me. Explain it to me. That's all I want to know.
I'm trying to think of something else to say about that, but I don't have anything. I hope people are still listening to us. I hope we're still on the air. I mean, I still see the on-air time left, but I don't even see your phone call on here, and I don't see chat, so I hope we're still working. And I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. And this show was not about to discredit or disparage anyone. This was not meant for that at all. It was to question the experience that unfolded a few months back, and to find out what actually went on. What was it? You know, we read this blog and we read that blog. I don't like to just read and then have a belief off of that. I like to talk to people, because you can find more by talking. You can even feel out someone's tone of voice and get an idea from that on what kind of person they are. And I didn't feel that Susan was vindictive. I don't get that from her at all.
She wasn't.
obviously there are things that, she doesn't believe in, but that I do believe in. And so that's fine. Am I going to downgrade her and claim that she is a fraud herself because she doesn't believe in my belief? That kind of mentality doesn't get you anywhere. It leads you into the chaos that you see right now on the news all over the place. You don't believe in my religion? Well, then I'm going to kill you. This is the mentality, and it's sickening and it's disgusting. And this is where we need to start to change things. And when everybody says, "Well, what can I do? What can I do to change the world?" I can't do anything. Yeah, you can. You can change the way that you react to things, to people. You don't know how much of a domino effect that is, and how much what you do here, if you believe in the paranormal, how what you do here, there is a distance away where your energy is affecting something else. Whether you believe that or not, it is. I believe that to be true. And so that's the mentality that needs to change, and you need to start to refocus how you think about the paranormal and how you communicate with other people, whether or not they are, quote-unquote, on your side or not on your side. How you communicate with them. Bring everybody together and talk about it. Find out why they don't believe. Who knows? We may not be right. I may not be right in the idea that there is an afterlife. There is still a doubt in me that there is. Even though I have talked about it, I have heard the voices, I have recorded, I have videotaped, I have done all of that stuff. As much as I have just of me alone, not even talking about the things that I have seen other people do, but the things that I have of my own that I know are of something else that is not of an environmental affliction, I can tell you that there could possibly be another explanation that I am unaware of that created that here on Earth and not of the spiritual realm. And so I still have that doubt in my mind. I always say this: nobody's going to ever know the truth until you cross over yourself, until you pass on. That's when you find out the truth. There's a lot of times when I hear of people dying or passing over, and a lot of people within the paranormal field, when I find out, like other investigators who have died, and I always say to myself, you know what? Now they know the truth. They finally found the truth. Everybody sort of gets all upset and emotional, and yes, I do too, and I understand that. But there's an ounce of me that when that happens, I always say to myself, you know what now? They know the meaning of life. They know what the afterlife is or isn't. They have the truth themselves, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they were able to find that out. That may be a morbid thing to say, but I believe that.
No, that's good. Well, I do know that when I get to the other side, I'm coming back to tell you all about it.
Well, you fucking better.
One thing that was, in doing the research and everything, reading about like all the other cases that come up with so-called frauds and misses, it was kind of depressing. It really was. And that I think that was a lot of my trepidation about doing this. But it also really pointed out how people really need to use a little bit of, you have to stop yourself before you go for a reading or to go to a medium. You have to, you really, really cannot base life decisions on it. No matter what you're getting from someone, you still have that choice to either believe or to take what you're getting as the truth. You have to be careful. I mean, you really do. It's just like any other service, like you said, if you're going to a doctor you want to make sure that this doctor knows how to do surgery. I'm not going to go to an eye specialist to work on my foot. So I just want to caution everybody out there, just use a little bit of common sense. Search out the person that you're looking for that reading. Look at comments. Look at other people who have had readings with it. Do you know somebody who's gone to this person? Did they have a good experience? And again, like I said, not everybody is 100% correct. Not everybody has a good day. But before you shell out $200, $300, $500, you really need to take a look at who you're giving that money to. And I know that there are people out there, that are people out there with the ability. I still have a problem with paying $200, $300, $500 for a reading. But that's my personal thing. I don't even like charging for readings. I really don't. And you know that. You tell me all the time that I should. I do it for free, most of the time. That's why I'm never going to be rich. I'm never going to have a TV show. That's fine. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I feel like I need to do it, and it's helping someone. I think there are people out there that lose sight of that fact. And when they lose sight of that fact, then all of a sudden the fame and the money and, having my name out there, I think that becomes more important. And I think they lose the whole reason why they started in the beginning. There's a reason why you do readings. There's a reason why you do this. And I'm hoping it is to help people. But I'm learning that not everybody's out to help everyone.
Why do you think that, because I've seen it many times, the videos of, famous psychics who, when they're giving a reading, and it's mostly in like a gallery setting or an audience setting, why is it that when a psychic is giving a reading and the responses that they're getting from the person that they're reading, no, that's not familiar, no, I don't have anybody by that name, no, I don't have a son, no, that didn't happen. Why do you think that they don't at that point say to either themselves or to the person, you know what, then I'm not sure what's going on with me, I'm not sure what I'm getting, maybe I'm not reading you right or whatever. But most of the time I hear, or they do what's called the hop, skip, and a jump, or the leapfrog, where it's, okay, maybe it's not you, it's the person next to you, or it's the person behind you or whatever. But why is it that I've never seen the psychic say, you know what, maybe my day is off. Maybe I'm not reading right. Maybe I shouldn't continue this. I've never heard anybody do that. Never. It's always been, well, you know what? Take this information and go home and think about it. I'm sure it's gonna come back to your recollection, and you're gonna remember why. Just remember what I said to you. That's what's usually said.
Because it happens like that sometimes. Sometimes you will pick up on something that the person doesn't think about. I think most people, when they go for a reading or when they're with a medium, that they're very excited and they're focused on one thing. But maybe something else comes up. I see this in my own readings. People come and they have a particular question about love, but money comes up. I think that's it. But I also think it's ego. I think there's the ego of the person who's doing the reading. Well, no, I'm right. It's not accepting the fact that you're not always right. You can make mistakes. It's not I don't think it's an ability that you can sit there and say, I'm always right. I'm 100% right. And these things that come to me, they're the truth. No, I don't think it's like that. But that's what you get.
That's what you get from most of the psychics. That's the attitude that you get.
I think it's wrong.
Right.
I think it's wrong.
And I think that's why Susan is doing what she's doing, is because she wants to wake these people up and say, listen, if you're not getting it, then say you're not getting it. Don't just make something up, or don't try and do a hot read or a cold read or whatever.
I understand that now. do understand that. On the psychic side, I don't understand the hot read thing. I really don't. I mean, to me, that's just too much trouble to go through. I don't get it. But I can see if you're a big name and you need to make money, you're going to do everything you can to make sure you're bringing in these people to cover your expenses and to make a profit. I really think it turns from being something that helps into a business. And I think once it goes into that business side of it, then you really do lose the human factor. It becomes, well, I really got to be right and I've got to make this money. I really think that money is the motivating factor. And I don't like that.
One of the things that Susan said towards the end, which I kind of agree with, if there are true psychics out there that have the ability, but also have the ability to find where ISIS is, why aren't they doing that? Why isn't that happening?
I don't know. I don't think they're focused on it. I really don't know. I mean, it's the same thing like psychic profilers, that they say that they can help with murders and stuff. I mean, personally, I would never, ever want to do that because that is something that is extremely, extremely, you make a wrong call on it. What if someone can really, truly get hurt? And you know what, that sounds stupid because even giving someone a reading and giving them wrong information can hurt them too. So, I don't know. Like I said, there's so much about this ability that I don't think we all know about it. I think there are people that see an opportunity and they jump on it. And who knows, I mean, the government does a lot of things that we don't know about. We know about, remote viewing and their experiments with that. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Maybe they've already tried to start tapping into psychic ability. Maybe they have already tried to find someone, a remote viewer that can find where these people are hiding and what their next issue is.
I think it's more along the lines of sort of like, well, how come they couldn't have prevented all of these beheadings? I get it, for psychics to call up the government and say, you know what, I've got news that in a couple of weeks there's going to be a whole start of these random beheadings from this group that's, in Iraq and blah, 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 blah. Whoever's on the other end of that line in the government's going to say, they're not even going to say anything. They're going to go click and hang up the phone. I get it that it's because again it's not a scientifically proven ability or a gift, whatever, that it's not going to be taken as gold, and so therefore yes. But then again, we've heard so many stories within the government of the government using things of the paranormal for gain. And so that would lead me to believe that if anybody were to call the government, maybe they wouldn't just click. Maybe they would, say, okay, hold please, I'm going to transfer you, and, and that message gets across. But as we've seen, nothing has been prevented. So if they did believe and there were people out there that contacted them, then where are we at? Was it not true?
Mhm. I don't know. Like I said, this whole psychic ability thing to me is just so, we don't know anything about it. We really don't. It's something that happens, and maybe as we evolve as a race, maybe we'll get in tune with it. But I just don't see the government taking a phone call and saying, if someone comes and say, well, here, I know where ISIS is going to strike next. If anything, I know the government is going to listen to that phone call, and I know they're going to check it out because they want to make sure that you're not part of the people that are going to do this. We all know that every phone call we make, there's certain words that click. you say a certain word and all of a sudden that recorder goes on. So for someone to call and say, you know what, I just had a premonition and I've got this vision and I know what's going to happen. Yeah, they're going to listen to your phone call because they think that you're part of the people that are going to do it. Psychic ability is not really totally accepted. It's going to be a long time before it's going to be totally accepted. So the people that may have the premonitions and may have the visions of what's coming, I don't think anyone's going to listen to them anyway. Even if you did, even if you were able to come up with, the next big terrorist strike, I don't think anybody would listen.
Well, we've got a few minutes left in the show. I think we have a few minutes left in the show. I don't even know. According to my clock.
At my clock.
Right. I'm looking at the clock, and if we are still on, it's 5 more minutes. But I do want to thank Susan Gerbic for coming on and accepting our invitation to come on and talk about this Operation Bumblebee and Operation Ice Cream Cone. As funny as those names are, they are trying to be professional in this manner. And as you heard tonight, Susan did admit that they did not catch either in a hot read, and that was one of the focuses in their missions was for a hot read. But that doesn't mean that they are going to give up or that they are not going to try and find out another way to get actual proof. But in any case, it was an interesting mission to learn about and to talk to her about. So I appreciate her coming on and being very candid and honest with us and giving us a little insight into her world and what they're doing. And hopefully maybe we'll have her back on again if they've conducted another operation. So thank you, Susan, for coming on the show. And Luci, if you have anything else to say, we should get to the Fan of the Week.
Okay. Well, this week, the Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week is Tim O'Malley from Scranton, Pennsylvania. Now, Tim sent us a message letting us know that he's a big fan of the show and that he has, quote, found answers to questions that I never would have found on my own. Some of his likes, he likes Christina Hendricks, Rashida Jones, Louis C.K., Sarah Silverman, the Dalai Lama, and, of course, he likes Paranormal Review Radio.
Thank you so much, Tim O'Malley from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I've been in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's a nice area. I know some people that actually live there, too. Don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, just like us on Facebook or subscribe to us on YouTube at Paranormal Review Radio.
Well, hopefully you guys can hear this, but you know what? Bottom line is, there's consequences to everything that we do, whether we're doing something with good intent or have the intent to deceive someone. It will come back to you. There's nothing wrong with proving something is wrong, but the reason behind your actions has to be without malice or harm in your intent. Now, we have to believe that there's still good in everyone, because once we lose that belief, we lose our faith in mankind. Once that's gone, what's left? Distrust, hate, nothing but negative. So it was interesting to hear Susan's side of it. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show. You definitely put my mind in a different state than it was before. So when we think about the paranormal, a majority tend to think in terms of Christian beliefs. Now, since we've added so many listeners around the world, we thought of looking at paranormal beliefs around the world. So while there's so many cultures out there that have their own explanation of what we're experiencing, there is one that's still a little bit of a mystery to us. In the West, the average person knows very little about the Muslim way of life, let alone their beliefs about the paranormal. Diana Kelly Sayed is an American Muslim writer, a ghost hunter, and a storyteller. She's the author of Paranormal Obsession, America's Fascination with Ghosts and Hauntings, Spooks and Spirits. The book discusses the role of the paranormal interest in a post-9/11 American society. She's also the author of So You Want to Hunt Ghosts, a down-to-earth guide. Diana will be joining us next Friday night to talk about Muslims and the paranormal. It promises to be an interesting and educational night. So Thank you, everyone, both near and far. You make Friday night a true gathering of friends. Thank you, Anthony, for being the best co-host in the world. So, until next week, dear friends, keep looking for the truth and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Well, I'll say good night. I'm hoping people are listening. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Paranormal Review Radio.